Also comes in a gold tone. You don't need much. The trick is finding the end. This is delicate stuff, so you have to be really gentle with it because it kinks up easily. You see, it is literally a coil.
Okay.
Once it's kinked, it's done. I use a flush cutters to cut it with. You don't need much. So this is about 1/3 of an inch, and I use about half of that amount. I've seen people cut it with the thread snips.
Is that sterling silver or not?
This is sterling.
Okay.
I use this Lindstrom flush cutters just because I don't want it uneven at all. All right, so first thing I'm going to do is tie a little knot on the end of my thread, and this is just purely to keep my beads from falling off. I'll be cutting that end off later. So I'm going to pretend these are pearls, and I put 4 beads on, and I'm not knotting between any of them right now. If you do this with patterns of beads or with graduated beads, you have to pay attention to the order that you put them on. So I always repeat to myself, the first shall be last and the last shall be first. So the first bead that I put on is actually going to be the last bead. And this last bead is going to end up being the first bead in the chain. Okay? And you'll see what I mean. So I'm going to run these down toward the end.
That's smart to hold them down.
Yeah, it just keeps them from running all over the place. And I'll leave about 3 or 4 inches because I'm going to need to tie knots. Okay? The next thing I'm going to do is put my French wire on. And this thread has some kinks in it because I didn't stretch it off the cord because I was too impatient, but normally you want to make sure you've stretched it. And I also, if I'm doing French wire, I'll run the cord and just make sure that it's not twisted up, that there's no tension.
And how do you make sure, like you were showing us earlier, how to pick the size thread that you need?
So for this one, I've already tested. I know that I can go through this bead twice. Okay, that hole is big enough will accommodate. So now I'm going to put my French wire on. It's really delicate.
And that's like a tube?
It's not a tube, it's a coil.
Oh, okay.
It's a tight coil. And so I put it on fairly gingerly. Now the place where that's going to want to catch the most is that junction. And so I put my thumb and finger over it and just guide it over that junction. I find if I don't do that, a lot of times it will catch and it will spring open. Once it springs open, you're done. Take it off, cut a new one. Okay? There's no redeeming that. So I'm going to run this down close to my bead, but not touching. Then always remember on the end you have to connect it to something. So I'm going to connect it to this jump ring. So it could be the clasp first, doesn't matter.
You just start to figure out eventually if you want a clasp or a jump ring, or oh, this is one end and the other. If you did the jump ring, it would be
doesn't
the other
matter
end.
which.
Okay, I'm with you now.
Which end you do.
Just don't do them both on the same end.
Right. And don't forget to put something on there. And that's easy to do because you're so focused on that French coil. All right, so now I'm going to run back through this bead. Now, again, I don't want to catch that coil. And so I typically will anchor the thread with one finger so it doesn't get sucked in as I pull the thread through. So you see where the French wire is?
Yes.
And you'll be able to feel there's resistance building in here. And just like in any other sewing project, that's going to make the thread want to coil up. So my best advice is go slow, watch for coiling. And if it starts to coil a lot, sometimes I'll actually just take my tweezers and stick it in as a weight, because that'll keep it from knotting by the bead. Okay, so now I'm close. I'm going to move my jump ring down. I'm going to move my French wire down. And now I'm going to pull. I'm just anchoring that bead. Now I'm just going to keep pulling this until that coil is complete.
So it curls over. It doesn't
curls
go through.
Over. Nope.
Okay.
Yep.
It does not go through. It just curls over, okay? And now I'm going to tie a knot. Okay? And this is easy. You don't need a tweezers for this. You got 2 threads. This first knot, tighten it snug. Don't give it a strong Wheaties pull. If you pull this too tight, you're going to kink up your French wire.
Oh, okay.
Okay? So just an easy knot. Now, at this point, I usually will glue my knot. Okay? I use plain old super glue, and usually I'll put a drop of it on a separate little paper, and I'll use, not my tweezers, but I will use typically a broken jeweler's saw blade.
Oh.
And I just dip it in that super glue, and I touch it to the knot
Okay.
where it crosses over. I'll maybe do that twice. Okay? Little dab will do ya. Do not get a big drop on there. Okay? So now I've got my knot. I'm going to say that I glued it. And generally that glue is going to dry enough by the time I get the next bead down there that I don't have to worry about it sticking to anything else. And now I don't have that coil to worry about. So I'm just pulling my thread through. Again, I can feel the tension, and you can kind of hear it on the cord. So I'm watching for this thread to knot. And I'm going to pull it all the way down. And so these first 3 knots are going to be a little bit bigger than the rest of your knots. Okay? So there's my first knot. I'm going to tie another knot, just like I did before. Just a simple knot. I've seen some places that will do a square knot here. I think that looks too bulky. Now this one you can tighten up pretty good.
Okay.
Because you're not going to affect that French wire. Okay, and you go back through it. Same thing again. Again, typically with pearls, we're going to have 3 knots. And again, I would have glued that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, the second one too.
Yep.
All 3 of them or 4 of them?
Yep, all 3 knots I'll glue.
Okay. And then you end up doing a French wire on both ends then?
Yes. Now the other end is a bit more challenging because you don't have all that space to work with. Okay. So there's my second knot. Again, I'm going to do another knot here.
It's just kind of up and over versus...
Yep, it's just a basic, like you're tying your shoes. Basic knot. Okay. Now, I'll glue that. At this point, people will do different things. I've seen some people just do this and not have this extra bead and cut it off after they've glued it and go on from here. I don't do that because what happens is it hangs kind of funny.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, if you don't have enough glue on there, that knot will come undone. And you saw that little stray thread on the Tahitians?
Yeah.
That will happen on this. And now you've got a little thread sticking out, which, you can cut off, but then you've got a gap
Okay.
with no knot. So what I do instead is I run up through a 4th bead.
And that straightens it out a bit? Or it just...
Well,
not necessarily.
it's just a different technique. So it's gonna look straighter, but you have to be a little bit cautious. And I'll show you why. Because I'm not going to knot with the 2 threads after this. So I'm going to pull this up tight, and again I would have glued that. And now I'm actually just going to cut that tag off and immediately go on and tie a knot here.
Okay.
So when I do that, hopefully I don't cut 2 threads. I don't want that bead to move, because if that moves up, that tag comes out. Okay? So I immediately go on and tie my next knot. And I have never had that little thread come out. And then I don't have to worry about whether the knot's going to come undone. And I'm going to have a thread tag, and it hangs nicely.
Yeah, that looks a lot
Now
better.
from here on, I'll just do my regular purl knotting.